Say, kids, what time is it?
It's kind of like watching TV, but, in your car.
104.7 The K, Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens, Dark Side of the Stream, episode 175.
Flawless start, too.
This week was my pick. Now, I just need to put this out there before. It was my pick, but it was strongly suggested by Joe Weston that we do this. And he was kept asking me, are you doing this? Are you doing this? And finally, I was like, yes, we're going to do it. I promise. And
this one really resonated with Joe.
I don't know why, but we were both of us are kind of like, okay, you get it. Anyway, before we get into the documentary we talked about, which is they called him Mostly Harmless. Jay Stevens, have you ever spent time in the outdoors for an extended period of time? I'm not talking about we went down to the lake, put a show, and a bunch of chicks there. They showed me the campground. I'm talking you got a pack on and you go into the woods for a couple days and then you come out.
Absolutely not.
Never been anything like that. Like
nothing
no cabins,
close to it.
Nothing.
That sounds horrible.
It's
me.
not.
It sounds horrible to me. I don't like being dirty.
You are dirty.
I don't like.
You're dirty right now.
I don't like snakes and rocks and lizards and dirt. No, I think even glamping would be a stretch for me.
Do you know what sand is?
Yes,
rocks and dirt, right?
I probably still have some sand on my feet right now.
Did you just get back from a cruise?
I did. I enjoy beaches.
So did you not spend any time on the beach? Like, no, rocks and sand.
Yeah,
no,
and I've slept on beaches and stuff like that, but I've never packed in stuff and spent time in the bushes.
Jay Stevens, I hate rocks and dirt as long as they're small. If they're small, it's okay.
If rocks and dirt, if Mother Nature has destroyed them,
I'm out. Man, I feel like you missed
I know we're very opposite in this department because I know you really enjoy being outdoors.
Yeah, hell yeah.
I know you enjoy being outdoors, hiking and walking.
I've never done anything like what this documentary talks about, which is where you would you would do a several day hike on the Appalachian Trail. My buddies and I considered doing the Ozark Highland Trail once, which is the giant trail system that essentially kind of parallels the Buffalo National River in Arkansas. And it's massive. I mean, massive. And when we were trying to figure out how we would do it, we basically came to the conclusion that we would have to have our significant others do us like drop locations along the trail, because there's only so much weight you can carry. And if you're hiking 10, 20 miles a day in the heat, you know what I mean? And you've already got 60 plus pounds of gear on your back just to survive, your water, your tent, your hammock, whatever it is.
See, that sounds
throw food in
rough.
There.
That sounds rough.
It's not. It's actually pretty amazing. I hope that one day you can find the joy in it because it is amazing. But either way, the story talks about a man that was known as Mostly Harmless.
Good name, Mostly Harmless. Mostly Harmless.
Let me ask you a question. If someone comes up to you and introduces themselves to Mostly Harmless, my first question is going to be, well, what about the other part of you that is harmful?
I'm going to think, okay, that's a fair assessment.
Like your name is actually perfect. Probably not harmless, which means that you would be the one to decide whether or not I'm harmful or harmless.
Right.
But if you tell someone I'm mostly harmless, which means you already know there's a part of you that
to me that is a slight red flag. Really, if you just meet somebody, mostly harmless. They call me mostly harmless.
Especially if it's this dude just hiking. I'd be like,
but that's the thing. That's the part that freaked me out about this hiking thing is there's people, men and women, just like out there. A lot of them by themselves.
Dude, in Arkansas, have you ever heard about separatists? You know what a separatist is? That believe that they just want to separate from the country and be their own thing. Like legit, you'll be walking down trails and see signs that say, do not enter, do not approach, do not go on those places, because that's a camp of individuals that don't want to have anything with the United States government, and they will shoot on sight. I am not kidding you. The park rangers won't even mess with it.
That's some crazy stuff.
But
it seems like it's a dangerous environment. It can be a dangerous environment.
Getting in your car and driving to go to the grocery store is a dangerous environment. Who's to say he's not going to slam into the side of you and kill you? That's not a reason to not do it.
Yeah, but in the bushes, and then you're walking
same
one
thing.
way, and
You're walking
from
the bar, and you wink at a girl, and the guy takes a gun out and shoots you in the back. Again, that's no reason for you to stop hitting on chicks while you're playing Machine Gun 70 shows.
True.
It's a risk. But for you, the reward's not worth it.
I guess that's what it is.
I gotta go to the store and get milk. That's worth dying for. I go to the woods, hang out with Mike. Not worth dying for. We'll be back. It's Mostly Harmless, Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The K. Mike the Intern, Jay Stevens back in the studio. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 175, discussing, they call him Mostly Harmless. Now we've got our wasted time out of the way, but this definitely tells a story about a young man who's found on a trail deceased, and he's
super skeleton.
Super skeleton. I can't remember the word. He looks like he's been starving, but the weird thing is he's got food. So detectives really don't have an idea other than the fact that through Facebook they figure out that he went by the name Mostly Harmless, because through these hiking groups, which they were smart to kind of go into these, look like he knew what he was doing. People keep in touch, and you, like you mentioned, there are some weird characters in places like this that every now and then you'd come through and run into these dudes, and if they were cool, then you'd be like, yeah, I remember this guy or whatever. That's initially how this thing kind of started, right? I mean, they used the power,
and a lot of them getting nicknames. I guess it's a thing.
Yeah,
like,
yeah. Which I didn't know about that either.
In the scene, in the hiking scene,
in that kind of thing. You
don't have a street name in the hiking scene. I guess a trail name.
Like the Intern, I guess.
A trail name.
The Intern. There he goes.
A trail
name. Hope you don't die this time, Intern. But anyway, it was, because it took a long time to kind of figure out what this guy was about and where he came from,
he was,
and because ultimately they didn't know if maybe he had some sort of psychological break. There had been so many stories in history where people would be like, I did this and blah 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 blah,
cancer,
and then or whatever reason, had a bad breakup, and he just like screw it, or maybe he was running from something.
We're all running from something.
Yeah, I guess that's true. We'll figure out what he was running from next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. Mike, the Intern, Jay Stevens, back in the studio. It is Dark Side of the Stream, episode 175, discussing They Called Him Mostly Harmless. So this man's found. They're trying really, really hard. They were using DNA to try and figure out if they could do a DNA analysis on this. And after this Facebook, because, the police are only going to go so far. They only have enough resources to use to figure out who this guy is. And inevitably, it went to this group of Facebook people that wanted to really figure out what was.
They did a good job.
So
really put in work.
Crowdfunded a bunch of money so that they could put in a DNA analysis using some of his DNA from a bone that was found. And it took them about a week, which is pretty cool. Now, the results from that analysis suggested this guy had roots in southern Louisiana. And thanks to their efforts, people who knew him in Baton Rouge saw the photos after they started passing them up, and they're like, we know who that guy is.
Yeah, it was amazing.
Come to find out, he had some bad issues. Most specifically, he was what they described him as a troubled man. He was abusive towards women, and he actually definitely got into some trouble. So at what point he maybe just decided, I don't want to go to prison for the rest of my life, but I can't be around people. So maybe that's what he did.
Yeah, very. Maybe he had an epiphany. Like,
honestly, if he didn't hurt anyone while I'm not saying that what he did and ran and all that stuff is right, but
he might have said, "I need to change my life," and
that could have been it. But so many times, guys commit this stuff. They get put in jail. They come out. They do it again. They get put in jail. They come out and do it again. So if that's really, because again, we can't talk to the guy. He's gone. So this is all hypothetical, and this is all hearsay, and we're trying to figure this out out of nothing. But I think that's probably what was going on with him. I think maybe he just he did it. They said he had some mental health issues and all that stuff. But the thing is, if he had the wherewithal to know, I can't be around people anymore, and I got to do this thing on my own if I want to survive, that's what he chose. You know what?
Hey.
Maybe he was in his own prison of his own making. That still doesn't explain the whole dying of starvation thing. I don't think, did they really even touch on that other than the fact that it was just part of the mystery?
Scar thing too.
That was part of his assault thing. I think it was a suicide attempt is what they initially said, later on down the road. But again, they didn't kill themselves by cutting themselves a hole in their stomach.
Odd.
Odd. Again, maybe the starvation thing had to do with the Mostly Harmless deal. Either way, we'll be back with our reviews next. Dark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave. Mike, the Intern, Jay Stevens, back in the studio one more time. Dark Side of the Stream, episode 175. They Call Him Mostly Harmless. So how many broken trailhead signs would you give this?
This one I could have done without. I'll give I'm a 1.
And that's just because we love you, Joe.
I'm giving
you are getting the 1.
Yeah.
It's not a bad
documentary. It never went anywhere,
It's just it's not, there wasn't anything other than the fact that we've kind of seen this story before, where you get a group of people that are armchair sleuths that take it upon themselves to go through,
right?
And that's great.
Great.
If you got the time to do that stuff,
Great.
man, that's
but the
awesome.
story just wasn't. If it would have had, if it would have been a crazier like twist, like this is who he was, and it was something crazy he did, like murdered a whole town or something, then okay. But it was,
wild ride,
yeah,
very wild ride. Either way,
but I will give props for this. Watching this one led me to watch my choice, which was a much better documentary,
which is called
Who is Jim? I think it's what it's called. It was on HBO Max as well. Who is Jim? See, pull it up. Make sure that's the name.
The truth about
Jim.
Truth about
Jim. Yes,
the truth about Jim.
The truth about Jim.
I think I've seen this or heard this story before. I'm pretty sure I've heard this story before.
It's about another interesting, shady character.
Wait, are we talking about? It kind of looks like Jim Jones.
No, it's not Jim.
Okay,
Jones. I thought that was. That's what I thought it was. When I saw the face, that's who I thought it was.
We don't need to talk about Kool-Aid again.
No.
Either way,
no.
You can listen to
who is Jim?
Okay. Yeah. No, it's The Truth About Jim
Truth About
on Max.
Jim.
That's your homework assignment. As always, you can watch us do this on Facebook every Thursday, 9 a.m. or on YouTube at 9 a.m. You can listen to it as a podcast for free on our 104.7 The Cave app, or you can listen to it during my show at 9 a.m.
Or you can invite us over
Jay's
to watch a documentary at your house.
As long as it's not in the woods and there aren't rocks and dirt there. Jay,
Michael, go. I'll stay home. I'll stay home. Michael, go. If it's on the beach, I'm your guy.
Either way, Stark Side of the Stream on 104.7 The Cave.